in Baton Rouge.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. I am Hunt Palmer, coming to you the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. Grant Laniero and Taylor Sharp back there on the ones and twos. 2 hours till quitting time for me. Well, kind of. I'll head on over to Rouse's after this, but it's close to the weekend. Hope your week has been good and your Friday is getting along nicely. With you until 3 o'clock loads to get to LSU basketball back on the hardwood tomorrow. Les Johns covers Wake Forest. That'll be LSU's opponent in Holiday Hoops Giving over in the ATL. We'll talk with Les in 15 minutes. He's from Deacon Digest, part of the 247 network. Our NFL tiers, as we get close to playoff time, some teams can make some big strides on Sunday. Talk about that at 1:30. Transfer portal thoughts, Pels, that's coming up as well. What does it mean for LSU with Cam Wire moving on? We'll talk about that in the second hour. Chris Blair is going to join us from Atlanta to preview this basketball matchup, maybe talk a little football as well. And, of course, we've got Take It or Leave It to finish off the show. So appreciate you hanging out with us. Let's crank things up with the Heisman Trophy. I gave my 2 cents on the lack of invitations for Bryce Young and Hendon Hooker earlier this week. I still think both of those players deserve to be there, and I think Bryce Young was phenomenal this year. But we're not going to talk about him. We're going to talk about the 4 players that are there, the 3 quarterbacks that are in the playoffs, C.J. Stroud, Max Duggan, and Stetson Bennett, as well as Caleb Williams. Now, I was wrong earlier this week. You do 10 hours of radio a week, and at times you will say something that just is flatly incorrect. And I did that earlier this week. I said, finally, after what appears to be kind of a long time, I don't really recall, there's some drama around who's going to win the Heisman Trophy. That's not the case. Vegas has basically taken this off the board. They're not even allowing bets to be placed anymore because Caleb Williams is such a significant favorite. And my question is kind of why. When you look at this statistically, I would say that Caleb Williams' statistics are better than C.J. Stroud's, Max Duggan's, and Stetson Bennett's, but not significantly better. Like touchdown passes. Caleb Williams, in an extra game, has the same as C.J. Stroud. They both threw 37. Now, Williams ran for 10 touchdowns and Stroud didn't run for any, okay, but they've thrown the same amount of touchdowns. Max Duggan has completed the same amount of passes as Caleb Williams, 66% to 65%. And Max Duggan's got 30 touchdowns to 4 picks. His team only lost 1 game. They're going to the college football playoff. Seems pretty good to me. Stetson Bennett, I don't even think he should be there, but they've won a lot of games. And I think the inclination was that Caleb Williams won the Heisman against Notre Dame. Notre Dame lost to Marshall. I mean, it's not like Notre Dame is some powerhouse team. I mean, to have I get if, Desmond Howard wants to run a kickback against Ohio State, that's pretty good. Notre Dame's not anything special. So why is that far more significant than what Stetson Bennett did in the first half against LSU? I'm not arguing that Caleb Williams shouldn't win the Heisman. I think that's a fine winner. I'm just struggling with the fact that it appears to not even be close. He completed 66% of his throws. C.J. Stroud, 66% of his throws. Max Duggan, 65% of his throws. Stetson Bennett, 68%. Now, completion percentage, that's not a huge deal, but they're all the same. Yards per game, yeah, I mean, Caleb Williams, 30 more than C.J. Stroud per game. C.J. Stroud sits a lot in the fourth quarter. They blow a lot of teams out. touchdowns. Stroud more per game. None of them were turnover prone. 4 picks for Williams, 4 for Duggan, 6 for Stroud, 6 for Bennett. I mean, Stetson Bennett ran for 7 touchdowns. Caleb Williams ran for 10. But they all seem very close to me. I think Bennett will get 4th. I don't know who's going to come in 2nd. Quite frankly, I think Hooker had a better year than all of them. But I'm just a little bit fascinated that it's such a lopsided conversation. So he'll win it on Saturday, and I think that's great for him. He'll come back next year as a prospective number 1 pick in the draft in the following draft. But it's a big deal for Lincoln Riley, I think, because it's your 3rd Heisman winner and very likely your 3rd first pick in the draft. That's a hell of a sales pitch on the recruiting trail. I get the era of NIL. I get, a lot of things. Pac-12's not looked upon as favorably, but neither was the Big 12. And he kind of cherry-picked his quarterbacks. They won it with Baker, and then Kyler transferred there. He was a 5-star, but he transferred there. And then, Spencer Rattler was as highly thought of as anybody in the country, and he went and got him. And Caleb Williams was thought of as highly as anybody in the country, and he went and got him. And so it becomes a situation not really unlike, that's a far more important position, but essentially Corey Raymond at the end at LSU just kind of went and found the best corner in the country. Eli Ricks from California, we'll take him. Derek Stingley from Baton Rouge, we'll take him. But you'd go up and get Jacoby Stevens, 5-star, not in state. I mean, you could just kind of go get whoever you wanted. And it seems like Lincoln Riley, once he gets his 3rd Heisman Trophy on Saturday, will be able to just continue to kind of go wherever he wants. Doesn't matter if I'm at Oklahoma, USC, whatever. You can come play for me. And that's an impressive thing. I mean, you've all heard those stories. I can remember it vividly, being in Herget Dorm when I was a freshman at LSU. And the eyes of all the country, specifically in South Louisiana and Southern California, were on Joe McKnight. John Curtis, running back, 5-star, number 1 back in the country. And the story was both Pete Carroll and Les Miles had their in-home visit on the same day, the last day before the dead period. And that Pete Carroll brought Reggie Bush's Heisman while it was still in existence. They hadn't taken it away yet. And I don't know if that story's true or not, but it's cool, and it's a hell of a recruiting pitch, and he's got 3 of them. That's pretty impressive. These guys will be remembered in different ways. I think Caleb Williams, has to write his story next year as far as what heights he can bring Southern Cal to. Fell 4 quarters short in this game against Utah. So next year probably more important, but when you're a Heisman winner, you're a Heisman winner. And C.J. Stroud, got to get it done here in the playoff. Max Duggan's going to be a legend in Fort Worth. You got TCU to the 4-team playoff and went to the Heisman Trophy ceremony. That's legendary status. They don't have a lot of that in TCU. The Tomlinson guy was decent. Dalton was okay. But this is amazing stuff. And then I'm curious about Stetson Bennett. I was thinking about Stetson Bennett's legacy, and I was like, what's it going to be? I mean, he's never going to buy a beverage in Athens as long as he lives. But I just kept going back to Ken Dorsey. Is that who Stetson Bennett is? He's Ken Dorsey? He's on these teams with just unbelievable amounts of NFL talent. And he's good. But he's not, all world. Maybe he's better than that. I don't know. Maybe he writes a different story in the NFL. But I was actually, without crunching the numbers, just kind of experiencing college football for the season the way that a lot of, I think, the listeners do, kind of thinking, okay, this is going to be competitive. And you look at the stats and they look competitive, and it's apparently not. It's going to be a land rush for Caleb Williams, which I don't have a problem with. I just, as I look over all this, I think, man, it doesn't appear to me to be that lopsided. But turns out they certainly think that it is. So Caleb Williams will win that Heisman for the Trojans. The other 3 guys will head on back from New York and throw on the helmet and shoulder pads and get ready for a college football playoff in about a month's time. So that'll be tomorrow from New York City. Our NFL tiers setting up the week in NFL action coming up at 1:30. I've got some thoughts on Denver Harris, 5-star cornerback who is transferring out of Texas A&M. Get to those at the end of the hour. I want to preview LSU and Wake Forest, talk some transfer portal. Chris Blair will talk LSU Wake Forest as well. But I want to get the other perspective from the Demon Deacon side of things. So Les Johns from Deacon Digest, part of the 247 Network, will join us next right here on 104.5 ESPN.
This is On Palmer.
One Bath and Closets, tell you about them every single day here on 104.5 ESPN. David Duvall and his team been in the business for 3 decades. How much better would your living situation be if you had a brand new bathroom? Maybe you need a brand new bathroom, and they can do that at One Bath and Closet. They're licensed contractors. They can do your floors. They can do your shower. They can do your bathtub. They can do the whole shebang. Maybe you just want a tub-to-shower conversion. Minimally invasive and can really transform your living area. Or improve the resale value of your home when it's time to move to another home. David Duvall and his team, happy to do it. And they also do a great job with closets. A lot of closets are a huge mess. Mine, I'm raising my hand right here, awful. Shoes everywhere, suits all over the place. Got more golf shirts than I can deal with. Don't really have enough room either. David Duvall and his team can help you with that. Maybe it's knocking out a wall and putting in a new closet. Maybe it's just utilizing your space a little bit more efficiently. And right now, if you tell him that Hunt and Hill sent you, he'll say 30% off your closet renovation. 30% off. That's not an insignificant amount of money. And they're not going to come back 3 weeks later because they cut a corner and something's not right. They'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. One Bath and Closets is your call. The website, onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
My dad just really enjoyed his life, and he enjoyed smoking cigars and thought he was invincible. My stepdad quit smoking, and he really felt like he was in the clear. Sorry. I wish they would have been screened annually. It's not just you affect, it's your entire family.
For more information on Ochsner's free smoking cessation program and to see if you qualify for early lung screenings, visit ochsner.org/quit.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening. with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite.
On Monday's OTB, the Saints didn't lose. We'll break down all the NFL action. Plus, how the Pelicans fare in their 1v2 battle for dominance. And a brand new Weekend Winners. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Finals week down here in Baton Rouge. For those that live here, that means for the next 4 weeks or so, the traffic ought to be a little improved as the kids head home for Christmas. But it also means it's quiet on the basketball front. No games this week, but that'll change tomorrow in the holiday hoops giving. It'll be LSU and Wake Forest from the ATL. Les Johns covers Wake Forest for the Deacon Digest, part of the 247 network. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Les, thanks for the time. How are you?
Hey, glad to be on. Thanks a bunch.
Absolutely. So, look, let's talk about this Wake Forest basketball program. It is year 3 for Steve Forbes, taking over for Danny Manning. Goes 6-16 in that first year, but really a strong improvement in year 2, 25-10. They went 13-7 in the ACC and made the NIT quarters, off to a 7-2 start. Safe to say that Steve Forbes kind of has his plan in place now moving forward?
Oh, absolutely. I think things are progressing well. They're also in finals week. In fact, I don't think they're leaving town until still a couple more hours from now to head down to Atlanta, because I know that some of the players had finals they were finishing up today. So, the Forbes has been a master of the transfer portal, had Alondis Williams and Jake LaRavia last year who worked wonders and led them to that tremendous improvement from the year before. And this year it's a team that features Tyree Appleby, a guy that LSU fans probably are used to seeing play for the last few years. And Tyree's running the offense and doing some spectacular things. And the Deeks are battle tested. They're coming off back-to-back games against Wisconsin and Clemson, and I think they're ready to head to Atlanta after basically 8 days off in a row and get back on the winning side of the schedule.
Look, I think battle tested is a key word down here in Baton Rouge, because I think by design in year 1 here for Coach McMahon, the schedule's been very, very light. And the only high-profile team that LSU have played, if you want to call it high-profile, was Kansas State down in the Caymans, and it wasn't on TV. So LSU fans haven't really seen a competitive basketball game yet, and I think that changes tomorrow. Let's talk about Tyree Appleby. I'm very familiar with his game from what he did at Florida. A little bit undersized, very quick, and has shot it pretty well this year for the Deeks. But what does he mean to this team?
I mean, he's turned out to be, at least early, kind of the heart and soul of this team. You know, he's very dynamic. He's a pesky on defense. He shares the ball with his teammates, and he's a very passionate player. His long-range shooting has probably surprised me, because if you just look at statistically over the last 3 or 4 years, he doesn't stand out as a marksman behind the arc, but he's been really accurate. But he's also really sharing the ball well with his teammates, and his ability to drive and dish and find folks both on the perimeter and on the inside has really been a kind of really special to see so far.
I'm curious, with Appleby playing the way that he has, and then Davian Williamson, who's also another kind of undersized guard at about 6 feet, how often do those guys play together, or is it more either or?
Oh, they definitely play together. I would say Davian has been limited in recent games by like a lower back injury. Everything I've been told is that the Deeks are more healthy going into tomorrow's game than they've been in recent games. So I would expect Damari and Davion to be full goes tomorrow. But yeah, you'll see them on the court together, not necessarily as starters, but they'll be on the floor together for probably 15 to 20 minutes tomorrow.
See, a pair of 6'10" guys in the starting lineup is what the game notes are telling me. Can you tell me about the Deeks front court a little bit?
Well, they start Andrew Carr at the 4. He's kind of your traditional stretch 4, more of a wing. And then in the middle, they've got like a trio of guys that they'll rotate in. They'll probably start freshman Zach Keller, but then they'll also rotate in there kind of this monster in the middle by Matthew Marsh, and also Davion Bradford from Kansas State. Together, those three do a lot of really good things, and they do kind of different things. Marsh is a guy who's going to set screens, roll to the basket, and if you don't cover it, he's going to dunk it in your face. Zach Keller is almost like a second stretch four on the court at the same time. He can shoot behind the arc, and he can also play good post defense. And Davian Bradford is a guy who's lost like 40 pounds since he's got in town and is really still trying to find his way and find his niche in this program. But I believe he's going to do great things down the stretch.
I saw the final score of the Wake Clemson game, which is their most recent game, and then I watched the highlights on YouTube, and I went, wait a second, Wake was winning in the second half and lost by 20? What happened? So what happened?
I think we're all still trying to kind of figure that one out. Wake had like a 6 or 7 point lead at the half, and honestly felt like they should have been ahead more. Andrew Carr had 2 wide open 3-pointers that he missed. Jalatuka, who had missed some games early in the season with a knee injury, was in there for just a handful of minutes and turned the ball over 4 times in rapid succession in the first half. And really what was a 7-point lead at halftime really should have been double digits easily, maybe 15. But then in the second half, things just kind of unraveled, and Clemson got things going. They shot well behind the arc. And just things came undone. I'm not really sure you can point your finger at one single moment in time. Tyree Appleby did not have a great second half. He, of course, felt that there was contact on some of his drives to the basket. And like you said, he is a bit undersized. So you'd be interested to see tomorrow if LSU also will play him in a physical manner and see if they can disrupt him the same way Clemson did in the second half.
Yeah, he'll see a lot of Juice Hill, who's also an undersized player. Both guys transfers this year that have played a ton of basketball. Juice Hill played at Murray State with Coach McMahon and came with him, and Appleby obviously started for a couple years down there in Gainesville. Chatting with Les Johns from Deacon Digest, covers Wake Forest, Tigers, and Deacs tomorrow from Atlanta. I've gone through all the numbers and all the metrics on Wake Forest, and it all is they're just solid across the board is what it feels like. What would you say the identity of this basketball team is? What do they do very well?
Wow, that's a good question. I think some of the things they do is they defend well. I think that they obviously, like most teams, they aim to get stops and string stops together. They call them kills here, and they get 3 in a row. And they kind of feed off that on their offensive end. And they're a team that doesn't, to this point, let whether or not they make shots dictate how they play on the other end and how they rebound. Thus far, despite being a younger team generally, they haven't allowed the ball going or not going through the hoop to dictate their effort. And that's something of which they can be applauded. They played in a big-time atmosphere already by getting the win at Wisconsin a couple weeks ago. That was not a violent crowd, but it was a fervent crowd that was, lustfully, cheering for the Deacs' demise, and they come away with a victory. And I think they're able to sustain through tough crowds. So I'm not sure what kind of advantage LSU will have tomorrow in terms of crowd, but they're ready to play against a hostile environment. And they shoot the ball well behind the arc, and they play as a team. I think that's some of their strengths.
Any of the Tigers that are there in Atlanta maybe licking wounds from last Saturday when Georgia tore them up on the football field pretty good, but they may come out of hibernation and see some of this tomorrow. Do you think this is a tournament team, this Wake Forest team?
I do, but also realize the metrics are telling us that the ACC once again is down this season. ACC loyalists will dispute that. I think the bottom of the ACC is fairly putrid at this point. You look at teams like Louisville, Florida State, and Boston College, and it's hard to say that those are good basketball teams at this point. So I think the top to middle are strong, and I think that Wake Forest has enough chances this season to grab Quadrant 1 and Quadrant 2 wins that can get them on the tournament bubble. When I see them go and win at Wisconsin, in late November, and that game was played at a really high level, it's hard for me to say that neither one of those teams are tournament teams. I look at that game and think that both of those teams deserve entry in the NCAA tournament. And it's going to be up to the Deacs over the next 20 games to kind of cement their resume so that they do get included this season.
I know this is not your beat, but I feel like I'm going to ask it. I was surprised at both North Carolina and Duke's hires. I thought those two programs could go just about anywhere and get just about anybody they want, and they ended up hiring from within. Hubert Davis obviously proved me wrong last year. and we'll see what John Shire can do. What did you think, as someone who follows the ACC, covers a team in the ACC, about those two programs hiring from right down the bench?
Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, they could hire anybody in the country that they wanted, right? And yet they chose someone within. That speaks, I guess, to the culture that they built in those schools and those programs. And it speaks to the, I guess, the trust that they have in those individuals that they've known and nurtured, over the last, 30 years of their lives. So I can see it, but I also see your point as well. I mean, when you're Duke and when you're North Carolina, you can literally choose any coach in America with the exception of maybe, a handful, right? And you can pluck them from anywhere. But that doesn't necessarily that they would succeed. These are guys that know what those cultures are like. They know what these environments like at Cameron Indoor Stadium. They know what it's like in the Dean Dome. I get it. And you're right. Hubert proved us wrong last year. But then you also look at the results early this year, and you're like, maybe we were right.
We shall see. Les, we really appreciate the time. Enjoy the basketball tomorrow.
Great. Thanks for having me on. Y'all have a great day.
It's Les Johns from Deacon Digest, part of the 247 Network. I'm excited for the game tomorrow. I am. This is a basketball team that, in my opinion, has not played very well the last couple of weeks. I think they played pretty well in the Caymans, based on my conversations with Chris Blair, Matt McMahon's comments. I didn't see it. I did not pay the $30 to watch on my computer for the whatever they were in the Cayman Classic. But it just kind of unraveled in the last 15 minutes against Kansas State. There's something in there. I don't know how good it is, but I think it's competitive in the SEC and certainly competitive with Wake Forest, who, as Les just said, and I think is a middle-of-the-road ACC team. But if they play the way they've played the last week and a half since they came back from the Caymans, they'll lose tomorrow, and they'll lose a lot because they're not playing great on offense, and they're not rebounding. So I'll give my thoughts on this game at the top of hour number 2 in 30 minutes. We'll talk with Chris Blair as he gets off a plane in Atlanta at 2:30. He's seen every bounce that this team has dribbled. So I'm excited to talk to Chris about that, and may talk a little football with Chris as well. But wanted to get the Demon Deacon side of things. If you heard Les there, you're talking about Tyree Appleby, a guy that LSU fans should be very familiar with. A couple of 6'10" posts, and then they've got a nice two-guard in Cameron Hildreth, who had a triple-double earlier this year in a game against Hampton, who's a 6'4" slasher. So I'll give a little scouting point on the Deeks, but wanted to hear from Les there, and so we appreciate him for jumping aboard. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, our NFL Tiers, a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Now is the perfect time to download FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back if your first bet doesn't win. So sign up with the promo code 1045 ESPN. FanDuel's got all your favorite bets, from money line to point spreads to player props. You can live bet the games as well. You get updated odds on games that have already started. Best part, when you win, you get paid fast. It's all on an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use. So sign up today with that promo code 1045 ESPN for your no-sweat first bet. That's promo code 1045 ESPN. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. Refund issues, non-withdrawable free bets, expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. Terms of sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're someone who knows a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $11,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% for 72 months on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt and Hill. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
I've got that blue sky. I've got that sunshine.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Hey, it's Hunt. Join me Friday from 1 to 3, getting you ready for a weekend of NFL football and LSU on the hardwood in Atlanta against Wake Forest. We'll talk with Les Johns about that. The Hunt Palmer Show, 1 to 3 weekdays, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I'll give you my scouting report on Wake Forest coming up at 2 o'clock. Chris Blair at 2:30. Also going to close this hour out with some Denver Harris conversation as he is in the transfer portal. I'll give you my thoughts on that. But as we do every single Friday, we'll go through our NFL tiers. I think a lot of people, specifically Saints fans, who, one, are happy they're on a bye and not playing, two, probably looking at their fantasy teams a little more closely this week because it's about to be playoff time. Making the greatest comeback in fantasy history, by the way. Teams just rolling. Jalen Hurts on fire. I have to go 2-0 and have some people lose this week, but we'll see how it goes. All right, we'll start with our tiers. Number 4 is the trash. Only one game in the trash heap this week. It is the Texans, who are absolutely putrid at Dallas. That is a bad football game. It is the biggest point spread in the NFL this season. 17 is the number in this one. The Cowboys have the best cover margin this year in the NFL. It surprised me a little bit. Maybe not with playing with a backup quarterback and winning some games. That'll cover a lot of spreads. With a win, the Cowboys will win 10 in back-to-back years for the first time since 1991 to 96. They did it 6 years in a row. Have not done it back-to-back since 96. They should get it done against Houston. That is the worst game, in my opinion, on the board this Sunday. Tier 3, not great, but improving. Jacksonville is at Tennessee. Derrick Henry's having some trouble right now, if you hadn't noticed. He's run for 208 yards total in the last 4 games. That's just a hair shy of a hair over 50 yards per game. He hasn't run for a touchdown in the last 2. You would think he could get rolling against the Jags. We shall see. That game is in Nashville. Chiefs are at the Broncos. The Broncos are awful. The Broncos haven't beaten Kansas City since 2015. They're in the same division. You get 2 cracks a year. They haven't beaten them since 2015. Travis Kelce, 32 yards away from 1,000 yards. That would be his 7th season in a row. That would add on to his already record-setting run as a tight end. I think he will get there with 32 yards against the Broncos on Sunday. That's still tier 3. Panthers are at the Seahawks. That's bad because the Panthers are bad. But the Seahawks, if they win against the Panthers at home, they'll have an 88% chance per ESPN to make the playoffs. That is nuts to me when we think about what Seattle attempted to do this year. And I think what they've done it with is turnovers, which isn't necessarily sustainable, but it's something that they've done a ton. They've got 21 takeaways this year. That's second most in the NFL. And 10 times this year, they have had double-digit takeaways. That's the most in the league. Jalen Waddle, sorry, that's a different. Why did I put that there? It's supposed to go by the Miami deal. We'll get to Jalen Waddle here shortly. But that's tier 3. Panthers at the Seahawks rounding it out. Here is tier 2. This is good football, and there's a lot of it here on Sunday. The Jets are at the Bills. The Jets actually won this game last time, if you don't recall. The Bills have a 46% chance to be the 1 seed per ESPN. If they lose, it goes down to 19%. That'd be their 4th loss of the year. So Jets are at the Bills on Sunday. Browns at Bengals. What is Joe B's deal with the Browns? He owns the Chiefs, can't beat the Browns. I got a reasonable idea why that is. Probably because Myles Garrett leads the NFL in pass rush win rate to this point, and that can be an issue at times for the Bengals. But that Bengals offensive line is playing way better than they have at any point in Joe Burrow's 3 years. So hopefully that's the case in this game. As I mentioned, Burrow 0-4 against Cleveland in his career. Sat 1 game out. Vikings at the Lions. That's tier 2, which we would not have thought back about a month ago. Minnesota wins the North if they win this game against Detroit. But Detroit has won 3 of 4, and in the interesting line of the weekend, maybe, the Vikings at Detroit. The Lions are a 2-point favorite. They're playing better. They're easy to pull for. If you watched Hard Knocks, Dan Campbell's easy to pull for. He's just a guy's guy, nice guy. Jared Goff, he's vanilla ice cream, but he's fine. And if you're an LSU fan, Kelvin Shepard's there, DJ Chark's there, Michael Brockers is there. They're easy to pull for, and they're playing better football. But they're a 2-point favorite over the Vikings. I don't know how much I love that. I saw Hanny put it in his 5-pack, and it's probably because there's no reason the Lions should be a 3-point favorite or 2-point favorite, but they are. Staying in tier 2, the Ravens are at the Steelers. You want to talk about an NFL rivalry? In the last 40 games between the Ravens and Steelers, 20 wins apiece. That's 2 great organizations, great coaches who are right at each other's throats all the time. Probably going to see Huntley for the Ravens, which is a step down from Lamar, obviously. But we'll see. The Steelers don't exactly have Roethlisberger playing quarterback at this point. So Ravens and Steelers in tier 2. Bucks are at the 49ers. Tampa Bay has lost 3 straight on the road. Why is that significant? Tom Brady's been a quarterback for 413 years. He has never lost 4 straight road games. This would be the 4th. If you're a bettor, Tampa unders this year, 10-2. Might want to look into that with the backup quarterback playing over there. Brock Purdy slinging it around for the 49ers. And the last one in tier 2, here's where we get to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Dolphins are at the Chargers. It'll be Tua and Herbert. They were back-to-back picks in the NFL draft. They're 3rd and 4th this year in QBR behind Mahomes and Allen. So they were high picks. They're playing really good football. If you're a Saints fan, this is the game you got to have eyes on. Why? It's the Dolphins and the Chargers. They're not even in the NFC. If the Chargers keep losing, they're hiring Sean Payton. Just book it. That meets every requirement for Sean P. All we've heard about Sean P, first and foremost, quarterback. They got one. Second, we've heard coastal. Qualifies. Best weather in the whole sport. San Diego. Meanwhile, as I mentioned earlier, Jalen Waddle needs 28 yards to join Tyreek Hill over 1,000. Have a pair of 1,000-yard receivers for the Dolphins. So we'll see if the Fins can go out west and beat the Chargers. Tier 1, I've only got one game this week, but it is a good one. It's the Eagles and the Giants. This is the first time the Eagles and Giants have met while both teams are multiple games over 500 since 2010. It's been 12 years since these two teams were at least 2 games over 500 and played each other. Little surprising. I know that the Giants have been up and down. Eagles have been pretty solid more often than not. But the Giants have beat up on bad teams. When they play teams that currently have winning records today, they're 2-4. 2-4-1. So I expect the Eagles to win that game. But it is in New York, and we'll see. See a Cowboys fan over there would be just fine if the Giants won this game. Buys this week: Atlanta, Chicago, Green Bay, Indianapolis, the Saints, and Washington. So 6 teams on their bye, which is really late in the season for a bye, but 6 teams are on their bye. That is your look at our NFL tiers list. We'll come back and get a little more time to close out this hour because there's something that I want to talk about. There's a couple things I want to talk about to close this hour. One, Denver Harris has been rumored to be interested in LSU. He's, of course, the former 5-star that signed with Texas A&M and is leaving town. I got thoughts on that. And also, if we're sticking with the A&M theme, A&M is potentially zeroing in on an offensive coordinator. This is the big hire that's supposed to change everything in College Station. And they may be zeroing in on a former SEC West head coach. Might not be who you think it is. I'll tell you who it is next on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is on Palmer.
Bayou Ford. Check out the inventory, BayouFord.com. Every new purchase at Bayou Ford, 1 million mile powertrain warranty. That's one of the huge things on BayouFord.com. You'll see it. It shows up right there. The other thing, don't settle. It says it in bold letters right on the website when you go to BayouFord.com. Why does it say that? Because you don't have to settle. We know that most car lots are not jam-packed at this point. Maybe have some more than they did a year ago, but they're not all jam-packed. That doesn't mean you can't get exactly what you want at Bayou Ford. They'll customize a vehicle for you. Don't settle. Let them customize a vehicle. Whether it's a Mustang, maybe it's a Bronco, maybe you're in the market for a truck, F-150, F-250, or maybe you're looking for an Explorer, an Expedition, one of those SUVs. They got you covered over there at Bayou Ford. They'll customize the vehicle, turn it around in 2 to 3 months, and they'll drive it right to your door. Check out the inventory. It changes daily as cars come in and cars move out. Call Ben Gagne and his team. And check out the inventory at BayouFord.com. Again, the website's BayouFord.com. Bayou Ford, what they're going to do right. Bayou.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
We get it done with strength, commitment, dedication, grit.
We get it done with passion for our fans
and love for our community.
We are the Tigers.
Get it done.
Let the values of the purple and gold be in your starting lineup this season. And as always, get it done.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. We'll have all the latest portal news with LSU. Preview the Tiger Hoop Squad back at it. The Pels as well. 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, wrapping up hour number 1 here on a Friday. Teased this at the end of the last segment. It appears that Texas A&M is getting close to naming an offensive coordinator. According to the crew over there at Texags, they're looking at the next 3 to 4 days. A&M will have its new offensive coordinator, and this is the hire that's supposed to revolutionize the program. Better said, save the program. They did just go 5-7. And there are some names that are circulating. I think they were very high on Garrett Riley. Doesn't appear that's happening. And they had some eyes looking other places, but there's a name that started to surface, and it's picking up some real steam. And it's a former SEC head coach. If you've got some thoughts rattling around your brain, you're going, Mullen? No, not Mullen. You're going, wait, not Joe Moorhead? No, not Joe Moorhead. Not Urban Meyer. Not Urban Meyer. Bobby Petrino is the name that is surfacing right now. It's interesting. If you don't know Bobby Petrino's whereabouts right now, he is at Missouri State. He's been their head coach there for the last 3 seasons. They don't have a very good record in 3 seasons. They were 5-5 in the COVID year he coached. The next year, his second year, they were 8-4. They went 6-2 in their league. That's fine. And then this season, 5-6. They were 3-5 in their league, which is the Missouri Valley. This is not the direction I imagined when I thought of it. I thought of a young, innovative Lincoln Riley contemporary, same thing that Joe Brady was to LSU. I mean, I think more is maybe made of Joe Brady's impact on LSU than it should be. Steve Ensminger called plays and was awesome, but it's been said by multiple people out loud, we don't know how to put some of this stuff in. We got to go find somebody to do it. And then once Brady was in there and kind of put some things in and showed the way, I think Steve Ensminger really picked up that baton and did a ton of work. But I was thinking somebody who grew up in this spread era, no huddle era, tempo era, shotgun, era. Petrino's not that. Now, it really fell apart on him at Louisville in round 2. You remember he was obviously let go at Arkansas in disgrace. He surfaced at Western Kentucky, went 8-4, and Louisville hired him back immediately. And it started out okay, went 9-4, 8-5, 9-4, 8-5, and then he went 2-8 his last year in 2018, and they were 0-7 in the league and fired him. This seems like Jimbo 2.0. This is a 60-year-old guy, 61-year-old guy who was dicing things up in the decade after 2000 and the early 2010s and has kind of been off the beaten path here at Missouri State. I don't dispute that Bobby Petrino has been an offensive genius in his coaching time. I just don't dispute that Jimbo was that for years and now appears not to be. It feels like you're jumping right back in on that. Now, this is not a hire where I'd go tap dancing on a grave here. I did that when Arkansas hired John Chavis. I went, you got to be kidding me. He had all-world talent at LSU and was good. He took one step down at A&M and couldn't stop anybody. Now he's got to take another step down to your talent level. This ain't going to work, and it didn't. That's not how I feel about this hire. I don't think it has a 0% chance to work if it comes to fruition. It's just not the way I thought it would go, and it feels like a couple of guys who were raised in the same era, who dominated the same era, and now Jimbo's struggling and trying to, and told he's got to change things up, so that's not working, and he's going to a guy who's not exactly lighting it up at Missouri State. I'd be more scared if they hired Garrett Riley or somebody of that vein. I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. Billy Lucci from Texags is as plugged into that program as anybody is to any program in the country. And he says it's not over yet. There's probably 3 guys in the mix. But this is certainly one to take a look at. So we'll see if that does happen over at Texas A&M. Bobby Petrino being rumored to be very much in the mix this weekend over at Texas A&M. Now to another story. Jordy Culotta mentioned on Twitter that there was positive meeting between Denver Harris and LSU, and that could open the door. Denver Harris, 5-star defensive back, from Texas that LSU was very much in the mix for that ended up signing as part of that monster class at Texas A&M. He did not last at Texas A&M. And the thought is, can LSU bring him in? As far as a football fit, it's damn good because he's 5-star talent. And you're talking about a guy who would fill a need at LSU because the secondary is not good, not in good shape in terms of numbers at LSU moving into next season. You've had Mekhi Garner move on. You've had Joe Fouché move on. You've had Jarquin Converse move on. Colby Richardson move on. Todd Harris move on. I mean, it's a lot of guys. Demarius McGee just entered the portal. You're down numbers at corner big time, and you've got to fill those with some big-time recruits and with some transfer portal. Denver Harris fills that need. And I walk a fine line here because this is a 19-year-old young man. So the point here is not to rip anyone to shreds. If I'm LSU, I say no thanks. If Denver Harris had been in a bar fight and suspended for a game, I would say, okay, college kids, sometimes alcohol is involved, make a mistake. One thing, we can look past that. Second chance, come on in. That's not the case here. That we know of in College Station. Denver Harris got in his car in a parking garage, went on Facebook Live for anyone on planet Earth to see, and started flying through a parking garage way too fast. You know how dangerous that is? And then to put it on Facebook Live and go, look how cool this is. How fast can I go in a parking garage? Not cool. Not smart. Very dangerous. Miami's coming to town. Pretty big game. A&M's top 10 in the country. Miami's thought of as a good team at that point. Tyler Van Dyke's coming in. Sold out Kyle Field. You sneak out before curfew, after curfew on Friday night? Suspended for the game? That's not getting drunk, getting into a bar fight, making a bad decision. That's a willing, flagrant breaking of the rules before a huge game. Strike 2. Then he's in Columbia, South Carolina, vaping in the locker room. Suspended. Kids make mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes in college. If I was as high profile as Denver Harris, there'd be people that said they don't want me around. But you're running a program here, and this is not one mistake. This is continued flagrant breaking of the rules. And I would just say no. And look, you're looking at a guy right here who was pulling hard for Aroldis Chapman in Game 7 of the World Series year after he had taken an assault rifle and sprayed his whole garage because he was mad at his girlfriend. Look, I tell you all the time, I'm pulling for the laundry. And if Denver Harris shows up in Baton Rouge and puts on that laundry, puts on the gold helmet, white jersey, and gold pants like they're supposed to, not the all whites, then I'll pull for the guy. That's the way it goes. I spent a decade pulling against Brian Kelly. He put one quarter zip on, threw on a white visor. I'm all for it. I'm not above any of that. I'm just telling you from a decision-making perspective. I've seen 3 things over the course of 3 months in college, and thinking that we've totally changed our stripes here is a bit much. That's my opinion. But I get no say in the matter. And again, if they take a 5-star talent at a position of need, I'll hope it goes great. We'll just have to see. I'll check your thoughts in the Bayou Ford chat and see what you think. I get, and Nookie says Hunt wants to go Nancy Reagan on the young man. Look, I just said I'm no better. I made plenty of mistakes in college. Trust me. I'm just saying, if I'm calling the shots, we're going to look elsewhere. But we'll see. People change all the time. Tyrann Mathieu is revered in this place. He got kicked off the team because he couldn't quit doing drugs. It happens all the time. So just my thoughts. That's hour one here on a Friday. If you missed it, you can catch it all on demand, 1045ESPN.com. Go to my name, Hunt Palmer. You can check it all on demand right there. You can also catch us on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, and there's plenty of y'all hanging out on YouTube. You want to throw us a like? I'd appreciate it very much. It means a ton to us. Open the show with our Heisman thoughts, my Heisman thoughts, and what's going to happen tomorrow and why it puzzles me a little bit. Les Johns from Deacon Digest, a little scouting report on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons from their side of things. He covers them for 247. That was at 1:15. Got you set for the NFL on Sunday with our NFL tiers list, and then some Denver Harris A&M offensive coordinator thoughts. Is Bobby Petrino the guy? Hour two's locked and loaded. Cam Wires in the transfer portal. What does LSU's offensive line look like? Chris Blair is going to join us at 2:30 from Atlanta, getting ready for LSU and Wake Forest. And I will preview LSU and Wake when we come back after SportsCenter. Come back with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications. The powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution. A network built for every possibility. Moving faster than ever before. Streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $11,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% for 72 months on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luber for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Light beer shouldn't taste like water. Miller Lite has more taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. Halftime in the World Cup quarterfinals. Argentina leads the Netherlands 1-0. Earlier today, the 5-time World Cup champs go out. Croatia beats Brazil in penalties after a 1-1 draw. Both of those goals scored in extra time, with Croatia coming from behind to force the shootout. Ravens coach John Harbaugh says it's looking like Tyler Huntley will be his starting quarterback Sunday against the Steelers. Lamar Jackson hasn't practiced all week with a knee injury. A comeback win for the Rams with Baker Mayfield at quarterback against the Raiders. But ESPN's Rob Ninkovich says slow down.
Great game, great victory, not taking anything away from it, but, I'm not going to say that Baker's back.
Rob Ninkovich on Greeny. From baseball, free agent left-hander Matt Strahm will sign a 2-year deal with the Phillies. He pitched for the Red Sox this year. And free agent right-hander Trevor Williams will sign a 2-year deal with the Washington Nationals. He pitched with the Mets this year.
Coming up on Monday, Baker Mayfield led the Rams to a win over the Raiders. Is he going to be the starter going forward? We're going to answer that and more. Keyshawn J. Will and Max, Monday morning at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and ESPN2.
If you haven't take problems, I feel bad for you, son.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Yo, hour 2, last hour of the work week here on the air for me. I'm headed to Rouse's from 3 to 5. Be hanging out at Rouse's, Burbank and Lee. If you're looking for your groceries for the weekend, come hang out. I might even have some goodies for you. Gift cards, koozies, sometimes shirts. Whatever they got in the van. I just show up in the van. Whatever's in the van, I put out there for you. So come hang out. From 3 to 5, I won't be there at 6. Got to hit the road for New Orleans. Got some fun going on this weekend. Speaking of this weekend, Tigers and Wake Forest tomorrow. LSU back on the hardwood. I'm excited for this game, y'all. It's been, by design, a very weak non-conference schedule. And because this team needed it, because everybody's new, and Matt McMahon's trying to establish a culture and get things done. And if you play a bunch of Power 5 games, you're going to get your head beat against the wall. But they did play one against Kansas State and should have taken that to overtime. They were actually controlling that game, 3/4 of it. And then K-State took the reins with 10 minutes to go, and LSU didn't quite throw enough punches back and then got screwed by the clock. But you get another chance against a mediocre Wake team. We talked to Les Johns in the first hour. He covers Wake Forest for 247. I asked him if they're a tournament team. He said they could be. I'd be surprised based on the statistics and based on what I watched on tape this morning. They have some strengths, but it looks to me to be a very mediocre Power 5 team, which is what I believe LSU to be. So I think it is going to be a very competitive game. I texted Jimmy Ott earlier today, said, hey, what's the look-ahead line for this game? He said he sees it at LSU -2. So it's a very evenly matched basketball game. So let me tell you a little bit about Wake and what you can expect tomorrow in Atlanta. This is a 7-2 Wake Forest team. They are 0-1 in league play. Clemson got after them pretty good last week, beat them 77-57. But crazily enough, with 17 minutes to go in that game, Wake Forest had a lead. And they got outscored by 1,000,000 over the last 17 minutes. They gave up 46 points in the last 17 minutes. So they're 7-2, 0-1 in the league. They beat Georgia 81-71. That game was in Winston-Salem. They lost an overtime game to Loyola Marymount. Then they went to Wisconsin and won a 78-75 game. So a little more battle-tested than LSU for sure. I would call, after watching this team on tape, they're not overly athletic. They got some size. They got some quicks in the backcourt at point guard, but it's not a super athletic team. And nothing they do statistically stands out at all. They're 39th in the country in scoring offense. They're 76th in the country in offensive efficiency. They're 97th in defensive efficiency. They're 57th in possessions per game, so not especially fast or especially slow. I could continue to rattle off stats. None of them are all that impressive. They do shoot the ball pretty well. Not shockingly well. They're 109th in the country in three-point percentage, but they shoot it okay. The name you will remember if you pay attention to SEC basketball, certainly if you've listened to Hoops with Hunt over the years, and if you listen to me on these airwaves, and I kind of get into other teams' scouting reports a little bit more than I think most on this station, you'll know the name Tyree Appleby. He's played a ton of minutes for Florida at the point guard position over the last couple of years. He's smaller. He's 5'11", 6 feet, but he's quick. He's tough, and he's been their heartbeat this year. He transferred in as a grad transfer. He's averaging 18 points per game. He's got 49 assists for them, so a little, just about 5 assists per game. He's been really, really good, and they'll pair him in the backcourt with Davian Williamson, who's also another 5'11", 6-foot guard. Those two guys are quick, they're short, and they want to push the basketball. Appleby has shot the ball significantly better this year than he did when he was at Florida. He is this year a 44% three-point shooter, which is excellent. So LSU's going to have to be aware of that. He's done it off the bounce. He's done it off the catch, done it off pick and roll. He's shot it very well. Now, Juice Hill is very similar to Appleby and to Williamson. He's smaller, around 6 feet. He is quick. He's played a ton of basketball. All three of the guys, Juice Hill, Tyree Appleby, and Davian Williamson, have all transferred and are all old players. So that's your matchup in the backcourt. In the front court, you're going to see for Wake Forest a pair of 6'10 guys. You're going to see Andrew Carr and Zach Keller. Neither is a great athlete. They are back-to-the-basket type guys. And Carr at times will shoot it from deep. But he's not some sort of freak athlete. He's 9 of 33 from 3, so not shooting it great either. So here's KJ Williams dealing with Power 5 bigs. We know that he can dominate at Murray State. We know he can go for a ton of points against New Orleans or Wofford. But here we go, 6'10", Power 5 guys. What does KJ Williams look like against these guys? They're not great players. They're not Colin Castleton. But they're good players. So we'll see what KJ can do against those guys. And the last guy I want to mention for Wake Forest is Cameron Hildreth. He had a triple-double earlier this year, which is impressive. He's a 6'4" wing for him. Pretty good athlete. He wants to drive and slash. He shoots a good amount of free throws. He doesn't shoot a ton of threes, only 17 in 9 games, so he puts up about 2 threes a game. But he's a good player, and sophomore wing for him at 6'4". So they'll play some shorter point guards. They'll play some 6'10" guys at the rim, but not a very athletic team. They will shoot the ball from 3. LSU has done a very good job this year at defending the three-point line. Now, that's statistically, and I've watched the home games. I didn't see what happened in the Caymans. But this will be a good test to LSU's three-point defense. That's going to be something they need to hang their hat on. Matt McMahon's teams in the past at Murray State have been really good three-point defense teams. Now, is that because they do a great job of stopping the ball, of closing out on shooters, of running teams off the three-point line? Or is that because you're playing mid-major guys who aren't great players, therefore aren't great shooters? I don't know. I didn't watch any Murray State games, so I can't tell you. But Wake can shoot it at times, especially Appleby. Got to get a hand in his face. Got to do a good job at the three-point line. If they do that, should be a good thing. Now, on the offensive end is where LSU has not been good. And I think that LSU is more athletic than Wake Forest and should be able to move the basketball, to run a little bit in transition, and to score some points on this team. Again, the Georgia score was 81-71. The Wisconsin score, which they're usually a slower team, 78-75. Clemson game, 77-85. Sorry, 77-57. Why did I say 85? That's not on my paper anywhere. 77-57. I would hope that LSU could get this game into the 70s, but the reality is that LSU is probably not going to get into the 70s. I think LSU is a pretty good defensive team and a poor offensive team at this point. Hopefully they prove me wrong. Maybe we see the team we saw in the first half against K-State, and you see Juice Hill creating and getting some assists. You see Adam Miller taking more shots than he has because they need to lean on his scoring. You see KJ trying to do some work around the rim. But when you look at this LSU team, and you look at Reed, at Hannibal, at Imwani, even at Miller, at Juice Hill, certainly Hayes, they're more athletic than Wake. Usually that translates on the defensive end. I'm hoping they can run a little bit and get things going. It's really the only shot you got out of conference left to kind of make a splash. They've avoided all the other landmines. Yeah, they were on the ropes against Wofford. They figured it out. It hadn't been pretty. And I know a lot of y'all haven't watched a ton because you had to go stream it. It's not on TV anywhere. Maybe literally not on TV anywhere if you're on the Caymans. But this is a fun one. It'll be LSU and Wake in Holiday Hoops Giving at 1 o'clock Central Time tomorrow from State Farm Arena. You'll have Mike Morgan and Dane Bradshaw on the call. And you can, of course, hear it on the LSU Sports Radio Network. That's where Chris Blair and John Brady will bring you the call of the game. And Chris Blair is going to join us in about 20 minutes from right now. Looking forward to that. So that's your preview of LSU and Wake Forest. I'd really love it if LSU won this game. That would be a nice win for them. Again, I don't think Wake is great, but certainly it's a game opponent and going to be very similar. Some of the teams you see in the SEC, your Texas A&Ms, your Georgias, South Carolina, Missouri, some of those teams, I think similar. They're not nearly as good as Arkansas or Tennessee, really even Alabama, but they're a mediocre ACC team that would be a mediocre SEC team, and that's kind of what I think LSU is right now. So we'll see what the Tigers have tomorrow over in the ATL against Wake Forest. Again, Chris Blair coming with us in 15 minutes. Coming up next, Cam Wire said he's going into the portal. What does this offensive line look like right now? We'll talk about that on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Man, LWCC is such a beacon of light in Louisiana. I love telling you about LWCC and about their champions of Louisiana. I was over at LWCC yesterday, heard a great speaker as part of their speaker series. They just do a great job of bringing people in and doing things for our community. And because they're so involved in our community, they want to recognize people, nonprofits, entities that are doing great things in our great state, like Mimosa Handcrafted. Been telling you about them all month in December. They're champion of Louisiana, presented by LWCC. And Madeline Ellis started it up, and it was her hobby, creating jewelry, and it took off, and now it's become a business. And one of the things they do in that business over at Mimosa Handcrafted is they donate 1% of every sale through Goods for Good. And it allows the customers who purchase the jewelry at Mimosa Handcrafted to select from a list of charitable causes to donate to, whether that's the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Mental Health Association for Greater Baton Rouge. There's a number, and that's so awesome that they're bolstering our economy, creating an entrepreneurial effect on our economy, and they're helping give back. That's why Mimosa Handcrafted is a champion of Louisiana, and LWCC loves to help us recognize champions of Louisiana. If you know one, lwcc.com/champions, lwcc.com/champions. Go nominate somebody so that we can tell their story right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Mimosa Handcrafted, December's champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications. The powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution. A network built for every possibility. Moving faster than ever before. Streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who are born. Join me, Jimmy, on 10 a.m. to noon every Sunday for Magnolia Bluffs Football Sunday. We recap LSU and college football in the first hour, Rohan Davey, and then preview the NFL with bunch of picks from 7 different contributing handicappers. That's Magnolia Bluffs Football Sunday, 10 a.m. to noon, right here in 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Chris Blair will be with us in 15 minutes from Atlanta. We'll talk a little bit of football with Chris, but want to get his thoughts on this basketball team. He has seen more than anybody as he went down to the Caymans with them. He and John Brady will be on the call tomorrow for LSU and Wake, so we'll check in with the voice coming up here at 2:30. But I want to talk a little football here. Transfer portal continues to fill up. And LSU had another entry earlier today. Cam Wire is going to head to the transfer portal. He, of course, was a starter at left tackle last season, was a starter at left tackle for you against Florida State. And LSU made a change. Right tackle against Florida State, and LSU made a change to the youngster Emory Jones in the middle of the season, and Cam never got his place back. He also did not play in 5 games this year, so he maintains a redshirt season. And so he has that plus his COVID year. Cam Wire has 2 years left of college football, so he will look elsewhere. It's got me thinking, not that I thought Cam Wire would be a starter on next year's line. I didn't, because Emory Jones was a freshman, and that's his spot. And Will Campbell was a freshman, and that will be his spot. So Cam Wire was on the outside looking in. But I just think about the situation that Brad Davis inherited when he got here in the late summer of 2021. And it was a mess. Your numbers were limited. You had a bunch of young guys that were unproven. It was late to the party. Everybody was hurt. It was a nightmare at offensive line for LSU early in the 2021 season. And they got better. Certainly they had a great game against Florida where TDP ran for $1 billion. And they played better as the year went on. And I thought the same goes for this year for the most part. They struggled bad against Florida State. Verse was in the backfield all night. They couldn't run the ball. Looked like Jaden was running for his life most of the time. But they figured it out and moved forward. And it's never good to have 2 true freshmen playing the tackle spots. That's a recipe for disaster. But it does bode well for the future. And somehow, some way, LSU got through the year with the 2 freshmen at tackle and won the West. So in your year that's supposed to be a nightmare, they actually came out okay. And now you look to the future of the offensive line, and there's reason to think that it could be pretty good. You've got your starters coming back, if you want to go with that, Will Campbell at left tackle, Miles Frazier at guard, Charles Turner, Garrett Dellinger, that's your interior, and then Emory Jones. Maybe you want to make a shift at center, and you think Marlon Martinez or Marcus Dumerville, one of those guys on the inside, can do it. Still got Cardell Thomas, Xavier Hill, Kima McAnioli still on the team, Bo Bordelon still on the team, Zalance Hurd, DJ Chester, Paul Mabenga in this class. I mean, how many names is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 I just listed off. Those are the numbers you're supposed to have. And while I don't believe that LSU's offensive line over the last 2 years has been great, I don't. I think Brad Davis's track record speaks to a guy who knows what the hell he's doing. And he just needed some time. And now there's reason to think when we crank this thing up in August, we'll talk about it in the spring. Spring is 100% sunshine pumping all day, every day. That's just what spring football is. But you get to August and we start talking about, well, what does LSU have here? What does LSU have there? You can talk about this offensive line as a serious strength and hopefully one of the best in the Southeastern Conference. Campbell is a second-year starter. Jones is a second-year starter. Dellinger, Frazier, Turner, Martinez, Dumerville. You add the depth with older players like Cardell Thomas and Xavier Hill, and you bring in Zalance Hurd and Chester and Mabenga, and you look at the track record of Brad Davis, you look at the track record of Brian Kelly and what he did at Notre Dame, and you look at the talent and the depth of this offensive line, that's very encouraging. And then you go, wait a second. Who's on the outside? Booty's back? Neighbor's back? Thomas back? Hilton? Mason Taylor's back? Bring in Shelton Sampson. They got some guys to throw it to. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. I don't know what they got at running back. But you start with the foundation of a strong, now veteran offense. I can call sophomores veterans, right? I mean, Will Campbell and Emory Jones figure to be here 3 years. That's my guess. You're not just a veteran the last year. At that point, you've got 12, 13 starts under your belt. That's a veteran. You're a veteran. You're talented. And what did I say? Position by position by position in August when I picked this team to go 7-5. I said, I don't see pros. I don't see pros at quarterback. I don't see pros at running back. I don't see pros at offensive line. I don't see pros in the secondary. I don't see pros at linebacker. And all of a sudden, I can see some pros on the offensive line now. I think Will Campbell's a pro. I think Emory Jones is a pro. I'm not a talent evaluator, but Miles Frazier had a really good first couple of years in college and bolted down that starting spot at LSU this year. Maybe. You figure based on recruiting rankings, Zalance Hurd would profile as a pro. Now, I don't necessarily want him in there playing immediately like you had to do with Campbell and Jones. We think we've passed that hurdle. But that narrative flips on itself 12 months later. They do look like they have pros. And in this era of football, you got to do a couple things. You got to score a bunch of points. And you can't do that without throwing the football behind an offensive line that can protect. You also need to salt games away with the run game. And that's what a veteran offensive line will do. So while the last 2 years, one of my main talking points is like, what do you have on the offensive line? What is there? That's been an August talking point for 2 years. I think that shifts. And maybe what do you got at running back? Who the heck are these new guys in the secondary? Are these edge guys ready to play? I mean, there are other questions. It's not as if LSU solved the Rubik's Cube here. But if the offensive line is the green side of the Rubik's Cube, you pretty much got that one filled in. So while losing Cam Wire, is not an ideal situation, You start to look at the numbers and the talent they've accumulated there. You look at the track record of Brad Davis. You look at the track record of Brian Kelly. And then all of a sudden you go, yeah, this is a pretty good unit. That's a pretty good place to start on offense. And that's why I think LSU is going to preseason top 10 team. You look at returning 5 starters on the offensive line. People liked what they saw from Nussmeier. Daniels is a proven winner at this level. So whoever the quarterback is, whatever happens in the bowl game, people will be pretty bullish on that. And then you look at the wide receiver room and go, oh, that's huge. And that's people, it's the name recognition thing. Preseason rankings don't mean anything, but it's part of our discussion, part of our job. So we have them. And I think when you look at what LSU is going to bring back next year, a lot of people are going to think a lot of it. I'm still a little concerned about the defense, quite frankly. We'll see what the portal yields. Gave my thoughts on Denver Harris at the end of hour number 1. But offensive line looks good. So Cam Wire is in the portal. He's a guy from the state of Louisiana. We'll see what his future holds. But I love where LSU sits in the offensive line, and that's the first time I've been able to say that since the middle of 2019, quite frankly. So that is a very, very good thing. I want to remind you right now that 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust are in the spirit to rock your holidays with $15,000 in cash. It's our 15K holidays. Head over to 1045ESPN.com. Register to win a $15,000 national cash prize or $1,500 in a local cash prize. The 15K holiday is powered by Citizens Bank and Trust and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We will come back with the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. You're listening to 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Nearly half of children in foster care drop out of school. But you can rewrite that story. Children and youth with CASA and GAL volunteers are more likely to succeed in school. Change a child's story. Become a volunteer today.
Serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Bayou Ford has the new...
On Monday's OTB, the Saints didn't lose. We'll break down all the NFL action. Plus, how the Pelicans fare in their 1v2 battle for dominance. And a brand new Weekend Winners. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Friday edition here, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Hanging out here in the capital city, but over in the ATL for the second time in as many weekends. It is the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. Hopefully this go-around goes a little bit better. Mr. Blair, we appreciate the time. How are you?
Hunt, I'm good, man. Back in Atlanta again.
They get the same hotel room, same setup, or we changing things up this week?
No, I upgrade a little bit. I'm in the Omni with basketball this weekend.
All right, well, it'll be LSU and Wake Forest. I was talking about this earlier in the show. I don't think a lot of LSU fans have seen much of this basketball team. You had to pay $30 to watch them in a high school gym in the Caymans, and they've played a bunch of teams nobody's ever heard of on ESPN Plus and the PMAX. So this will be a chance to be on TV against an ACC opponent. How would you characterize the way that this team has developed through a month and a half?
You know, Hunt, I think I talked to you, before the season started, maybe just after the season started, taking a look at the schedule, non-conference schedule. It was kind of one of those that ramped up as the season went along. And I think this is, obviously one of the better tests for the team against an ACC opponent who, has a better strength of schedule than LSU. I think they're somewhere around 91 for Wake Forest, 7-2 on the season, and I think it's going to be a good measuring stick. And I think, Wake Forest picked preseason somewhere in the neighborhood of 9th in the ACC. It's not like it's an ACC power.
Hey, Chris, let me stop you there. Hold on. We've got some phone issues. We're going to call you back. So just call him right back, and we'll get him. That's the nature of the way cell phones go. But I agree with Chris. It's a team that's kind of trying to find its way at this point, and it's a really good test. It's a good measuring stick. I think if LSU goes out there and wins this game on Saturday, I will personally feel better than I do today. That's not the case with every game that you play. Certainly not some of these non-conference games LSU has played. They couldn't go out there and beat Wofford 97-46 and be like, oh, they got it fixed. And I wouldn't say they got anything fixed. But if they go out there and beat Wake Forest by 6-7 points, or you just win the game, I'll go, okay, that's a nice win over a middle-of-the-road team. That is an encouraging thing for this basketball team. And so, if they go out there and get beat by 20, you may look up and go, oh, that's not very encouraging. But Chris, as you were saying, this is a real measuring stick. You go out and beat one of these lower conference teams by 40 points, you can say, yeah, nice win, but what does that prove? You go out there and beat this team, not that they're going to win the ACC, but I think that it does prove that you've got the chops to play competitive basketball in the middle of the conference.
Yeah, I think so. I think in number, beyond just that, Hunt, I think it gives this team a little bit of confidence. Neither one of these teams has played, the toughest schedule. The weird thing that stands out about Wake Forest is they got a solid win at Wisconsin in Madison. They've won, one overtime game, so they've been tested. They've lost an overtime game. And then they opened ACC play last Friday and just got blistered by Clemson on the road at Littlejohn. But I still think LSU can take a lot from this game. Still trying to find that third and fourth consistent scorer beyond Miller and KJ, obviously. And you're playing on a neutral site. There's a lot of juice here in Atlanta for holiday hoopsgiving. So, I mean, I think you win this game, there's a lot you can take from it going back to finish the non-conference before you take on Arkansas.
You spend some time with Coach McMahon. Obviously, have the coaches show over at TJ Ribs. You're learning Coach McMahon, and obviously this is the first year in Baton Rouge. How do you think he feels about the product that he's put out there the last few weeks?
He's really told me that. I've talked to him numerous times, spent plenty of time with him down in Cayman, and it was about trying to find that third and fourth scorer. And he really talked about trying to get into that 8 to 9 man rotation. And I think if, you asked him, and I will ask him tomorrow before the game, are you comfortable with that rotation yet? I still believe he will tell me there are 10, 12, 14 minutes of a game that still are up for grabs for this team as to who wants to take them. Whether that be one of the newcomers or whether it be one of the returners. Obviously, Imwani Wilkinson has been starting this season. And you know what you get with Imwani. That's not a big shock. He's going to play good defense. He'll hit a corner three or so. But you're going to need points, obviously. And I think that's where this coaching staff is looking, is who is going to be that third and fourth scorer. Because you look back at the game against UT Arlington, I mean, more times than not, Adam Miller's going to deliver. But when he doesn't, suddenly now you're left with one double-figure score. And that's going to be a tough way to go, especially when SEC play begins, when you take a look at some of the offenses and some of the points that are being put up by the Arkansas of the world, obviously the Kentuckys of the world, Tennessee, the list goes on and on, Auburn. So I think that's one of his biggest concerns. But one of the things he really does hang his hat on, Hunt, and I know you've talked about it, anybody who watched this team has talked about it, there is a dedication to playing defense. And I think he's proud of the way this team has, even when they haven't shot the ball well, they still feel like they can hang in any game because they'll play defense and play it very well, and everybody's dedicated to doing so. So that's, if you can just find the offense, to me, finding offense, it comes and goes. But if you've got defense that you can hang your hat on each and every time you take to the court, then I think you've got a chance to be in most games and probably have a chance to win most games.
Yeah, LSU's more athletic than Wake. I'm sincerely hopeful that they are able to corral Wake Forest and run them off the three-point line and play some good defense. One of the things I think finding that third scorer, as you mentioned, talking to Coach McMahon, is a huge deal because Miller and Williams are carrying a ton of the load. But it wouldn't offend me at all if Adam Miller took a few more shots. Is that something that you think is a possibility?
Yeah, I think he's been unselfish. Coach Brady's talked about it a lot. He said, there's times where it looks like Adam is maybe trying to be a little too unselfish when he's had the open shot. And not necessarily just the three, even the mid-range jumper or the ability to take his defender on the dribble. There's been times he's been able to drive down the lane and he's looking to dish it off. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that when you're a natural-born scorer the way Miller is, the team's going to need him to score double digits and, need to be up near 17, 18, 20-plus points a game. There are times when he probably needs to put the team on his shoulders offensively and just take the initiative. I think that's a pretty good point. I don't think many people would argue that.
One guy that's interesting to me is Jalen Reed. He's gotten a lot of minutes on this team. He's been a starter on this team. And when you look at his high school tape, there's a lot of him putting the ball on the floor and attacking the rim. And I don't know that I've seen a ton of that from him this year. He's going to be playing another 6'10" guy in this game, which I don't think he's probably done a ton of in his life. You're usually the tallest guy on the high school floor at 6'10", but he is more athletic. Is that a guy who's got some more offense that they can tap into?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about Jalen, he certainly comes from a great pedigree. His father, Justin Reed, was an All-American at Ole Miss, and he was highly touted coming in. I think, just watching him, he's been a little tentative, as you pointed out, and maybe the speed of the game, maybe just feeling comfortable within himself and his talent and his skill ability is something that's got to come along a little bit. But he's got great size, as you said, 6'10", 230 pounds, got a pretty good handle. So, yeah, I think as it comes along, he may be that candidate for that consistent third or possibly fourth scorer for LSU, because I certainly think he can do it. I think it's more just about his confidence in these type games. So hopefully we'll see a little bit more of that Saturday and the next couple of games leading into SEC play, because I think he certainly can be an X factor because of his size, because of his basketball IQ, and because of the talent he has.
I think the point guard matchup tomorrow is fascinating. It's two guys who are new at their respective places but have played a ton of college basketball. It's Tyree Appleby. We know him from Florida. And, of course, Juice Hill for LSU. I think whoever gets the best of that matchup, you talk about Appleby averaging 18 points per game, will be in position to win the game, no?
Yeah, I mean, it's another matchup for LSU where there's some history. You go back to that Kansas State game, a similar with a former Florida player who probably has a little love for LSU. And I think the same could be said for Tyree Appleby, who's leading the ACC in assists per game and also second in scoring. So he's off to a pretty good start transferring to Wake Forest. And I think so. I mean, anytime you got guys who play at that high a level, and for most of that game, by the way, against a pretty good point guard in Kansas State, I thought Juice Hill was the better point guard for at least 3/4 of that game. I'm sure that's going to be a focus in practice tonight, in film study today. I look for Juice to kind of take that on as his fight tomorrow to be the better point guard, which there's probably no doubt that Appleby's going to have plenty of motivation because there's going to be LSU on the jersey of the opposing team tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Last one here, Chris. We appreciate your time as you head over to the ATL. Your thoughts on how big it is for LSU football to get a 10th win in the Citrus Bowl to finish off this season?
It was interesting. I was talking earlier this week about, how much farther ahead of schedule LSU football is, and still considering the fact that you lose the Texas A&M game, you lose, to Georgia in the SEC title game, and suddenly you start trying to figure out the difference from losing 3 in a row or winning that last one headed into the off season. And I think, again, big picture, come February of 2023, we'll still be talking about how an incredible season, first year for Brian Kelly and the staff. But I think the different connotation of saying you picked up that 10th win, you finished the bowl game and went into the offseason with a victory, I think is really night and day. And I look back to the 18 season, and I'm not comparing the 19 season to the 2023 season. I just felt like when LSU football left the Phoenix area after the Fiesta Bowl, there was a surge of energy. And I think that would be kind of the same thing, especially considering all the things that have already been done, the rebuild that has already happened, the layers and foundation that Coach Kelly and his staff have already put in place. Now you just punch your way into the offseason with a victory. I hate to say that it makes a difference if you don't win it, but I think the benefit of winning it is so much more that it is imperative. And I think it could really, really jumpstart the 2023 season.
I don't want to hear any reports of you and Coach Brady around any bourbon, no steaks, nothing extracurricular this evening, all right?
Well, Coach John Brady, he kind of has his own flight schedule, so he's going to be cruising in via some plane tomorrow. So
okay.
I'm just going to be solo watching TV in the room tonight, so not a whole lot going on.
All right, Chris. Well, enjoy the basketball tomorrow. Safe travels back. Thanks.
All right, hon. Thanks.
He's the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, from over there in Atlanta, Georgia. And one more little basketball story to hit on here before we get out and get to some take it or leave it to close things up. Did y'all see Grinnell College yesterday? They shot 111 threes and no twos yesterday. They won 124-67. 111 threes they put up. I've talked about Grinnell a couple times on this show because they've been doing this for years. They try to get a three up within the first 5 or 6 seconds of the shot clock. And they do line changes, 5 in, 5 out every 3 or 4 minutes. And it's crazy. I mean, they're D3. So it's a different level of basketball. But 111 threes they put up in a 124-67. And you look at the advanced metrics and the percentages, points per possession, that kind of stuff. It kind of works in their favor. It's crazy, and it's a gimmick, and I don't think you're going to see the Knicks or Duke do it anytime soon. But, hey, 111 threes they put up in a win over Emmaus Bible College. That eclipsed Troy's record, 109 threes, back in 1992. So that was the highest scoring game in the history of the NCAA. They scored 258 points in that game. Crazy stuff. Absolutely nuts. Grinnell College. Just check their box scores every once in a while. They're putting up threes by the truckload. You can catch me at Rouse's from 3 to 5, but first we got to close things out, so come back with us. We'll play some Take It or Leave It on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is on Palmer.
Now's the perfect time to download FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook because right now new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back if your first bet doesn't win. So sign up with the promo code 1045ESPN. FanDuel's got all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. You can live bet during the games, getting updated odds on games that have already started. It's all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So sign up today with that promo code. It's 1045ESPN for your no-sweat first bet. That is promo code 1045ESPN. You can make every moment more this season with FanDuel. It's the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as a non-withdrawable free bet that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or somebody who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Winter can be magical. The Mercedes-Benz Winter Event is here, and there's no better time to check out our new Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge inventory. We have the vehicles that can make your holiday extraordinary. See all the latest technological features on the newest models during our Mercedes-Benz Winter Event. Shop our best of the best award-winning dealership. Visit mbobr.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Service Mastery Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Mastery Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Mastery Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now.
Hey, it's Hunt. Join me Friday from 1 to 3, getting you ready for a weekend of NFL football and LSU on the hardwood in Atlanta against Wake Forest. We'll talk with Les Johns about that. The Hunt Palmer Show, 1 to 3 weekdays, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge. Back in action here, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, closing out a work week. Hope yours has been great. I'm about to duck out here and head over to Rouse's, Burbank and Lee. So if you're looking to do a little grocery shopping for the weekend, maybe a holiday party, any reason to grab some food or drink, Rouse's, Burbank and Lee. Plus, I'll have some stuff to give away. So come hang out with me from 3 to 5 over there after further review. But we cannot close out a show here without a little bit of take it or leave it. So Taylor Sharp, let's fire away.
Yeah, kicking it off with a little college football action. The Army-Navy game, take it or leave it.
Okay. People are going to get mad at me. I apologize. I'm going to leave it. I'm not a football junkie. Like, Hester is no doubt going to go up there this weekend and absolutely love every second of it. He is a football junkie, and I'm sure it's a pretty cool deal. But as far as, like, watching it on TV, I got a couple teams that aren't very good, running offenses that aren't very exciting, and they've hit the under like 430 years in a row. All these guys are going to do phenomenal things in their lives. Playing football in a 17-13 game in the cold, not really one of them for me. It's just not appointment television for me. I think it's great if people want to watch it. I like watching college baseball on Tuesdays in March. I get it. People have the things that they want to do. It's just not for me. So I apologize to all those that I have offended. I know the president goes and they have flyovers and the cadets and the whole deal. It's just not my thing.
Ice skating, take it or leave it.
I haven't been ice skating in a long time. I think we had minor league hockey in Shreveport when I was growing up, and kids could skate after the games. I did that a few times. I've been in New York a couple times over the last 10 years. Rockefeller Center is always an absolute zoo, so I've never gotten on the ice there. We have a company outing this weekend doing a little ice skating. I'm excited about it. The wife's going to come as well. I don't think I'm going to tear any ligaments or have any debilitating falls. I think I can handle it. I'm probably not going to hit any triple axles along the way, but I think, once a year or so, ice skating, I'm for it, so I'll take that.
As it is the gift-giving season, Christmas shopping, take it or leave it.
Okay, I'll offend some more people here. I got to leave it. I'm awful at it. I'm usually too late. I'm actually done this year, which is relief, but there's one gift, and it's actually the gift that's the most important here, and it might not get here on time. That's always anxiety-riddled. Like, it's just, I'm bad at it. Like, I like people giving me gifts. I appreciate that, but as far as the shopping goes, we got issues because we both have access to the credit card, so she's going to be able to see what I got. It's like there's so many parts of this that I'm so bad at. I did get presents wrapped under the tree last night, so that is a success. But as a whole, I got to leave Christmas shopping. I'm bad at it.
State championship football in the Superdome this weekend. Take it or leave it.
I'm taking this one. This is great. I think there are too many state championship brackets. I think they have done too much here, but if you've never been down to the Dome for state championship, it is really, really cool. Like, I think the coolest part of it is when a smaller town that doesn't get there every single year shows up and just packs half the dome, like the lower bowl, because it's the whole, last one leave and turn out the lights type situation. That's really, really cool for those kids to be able to go out on the field that they watch every Sunday. They watch Drew Brees play on forever and to play for a state championship that they'll remember forever. It's fantastic. I know some of these kids at like Catholic or Curtis or Evangel in their heyday, or West Monroe or St. Charles, these schools that get there 3-4 out of 5 years, it could be a little bit of old hat, but it's still a really, really cool thing. I love that our state does it, and if you've never been, I highly recommend going to check it out.
Tua Tagovailoa of the Miami Dolphins leads the NFL in Pro Bowl votes. Tua, the best QB in the AFC. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave this. Power of Twitter, I guess it is. That's apparently when they unloaded the Twitter vote, Tua surged ahead. Look, you got Mahomes, you got Allen, you got Burrow, you got a lot of guys who are better than Tua. Tua's having a nice year, and they got a pretty big game coming up this weekend, but I'm going to leave it as him being the best quarterback in the AFC. But is this the last Pro Bowl? I think it is. Fire away if you want to go out there and play in the Pro Bowl.
All right, we got one more for you. The match is this weekend with Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas taking on Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods. The match is must-see TV. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it as must-see TV. I'll be honest, I would much rather watch the match than the Army-Navy game. I think they're playing 12 holes. These guys are all good friends. They're going to have some good banter. They hit great golf shots. The course is gorgeous. I think for a lot of people that are covered in snow this time of year, seeing those guys out there in shorts riding around in golf carts, hitting golf shots is a relief and a nice thing to look at. I think they've done a great job with a lot of the marketing and some of the stuff with the matches. I think it's really cool what they do with it. They're going to do more of these. They don't last that long. They try to keep it rolling with some entertainment, some banter, some gambling here and there. I like it, and these guys are all very, very likable. Of course, Tiger's the biggest icon in the history of the sport. You got Rory, who's been the face of the PGA Tour through all this stuff with Liv, and then you've got Spieth and Thomas, who are America's kind of duo that plays all these team events and whatever. So I'll take a look at it. Will I watch the entire thing? Maybe not, but I'll catch more of that than the Army game. So there's your take it or leave it here on a Friday. If you missed any of the show, you can catch it on demand, 1045 ESPN.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. I gave some thoughts on the Heisman. Les Johns from Deacon Digest, part of the 247 Network, was with us in hour number 1. Of course, we went through our NFL tiers list, previewed LSU and Wake tomorrow, little portal action as well. So big show. If you missed it, catch it on demand as you can every single day. We appreciate y'all for being with us today. Hopefully the Tigers can get it done in Atlanta tomorrow. I'll be very anxious watching that one and see if they can get one non-conference victory to kind of propel them forward into conference play. It's been kind of a lazy non-conference slate for them, but we'll be back on Monday, no doubt, to recap